My name's Tom Rubbeck. I'm a partner here at Analysys Mason. I'm an expert in consumer and business services. I work mostly with telecoms operators looking at strategic issues. If we look at what telecoms operators are doing with GenAI, mostly it's still relatively narrow, relatively limited use cases. So for example, at the most basic, they're just using Microsoft Copilot for things like meeting summaries. We've also got examples of operators doing something slightly more advanced, so maybe generating internal manuals, FAQ type manuals. So AT&T's doing something like that. AT&T's also updating legacy code. We also see some other operators doing things that are slightly more advanced, so particularly around customer services. So we know Vodafone has a project to ingest conversations with customer service agents with a view to creating suggestions for future questions. But that's just the pilot stage right now. I think we need to be a little bit careful about saying which operator is most advanced. We only know what we can see from public announcements. But from what we can see, I think SK Telecom is the most advanced operator. It is an investor in Anthropic. It's invested $100 million in that company. It's also developing multiple LLMs, both internally and with partners, including Anthropic. It has an AI-powered customer services agent called ADOT, and it's a leading player in the global telco AI alliance, along with Etisalat, Singtel, and Deutsche Telekom. I think it's probably fair to say that all aspects of a telecoms operator business will be affected by GenAI in the long term. Things like customer services, we can already see the inevitable impact. But if you looked at beyond telecoms and you look at other sectors, we can already see the impact of GenAI in sales, in marketing, in product development, legal, financial, and so on. So I'd expect to see much the same in telecoms. The other part of that is how the relationship between those different functional areas changes. So if you take the example of product development, things that take months today could take weeks in future, even days. Obviously that impacts the products that come to market, but that has a knock-on impact on the sales teams, on the marketing teams, and so on. The other aspect to think about is jobs. Now, inevitably, there's been a lot of focus on the potential impact on jobs and job losses, and we've tried to quantify some of that in our research. But it may mean in 10 years' time that the telecom sector employs fewer people, but the jobs that remain are higher skilled, more specialised, and probably better paid. So I think we're a little bit careful about talking about the broader implications longer term. There's clearly a lot of uncertainty with GenAI. It's moving very quickly and so on. So partly for that reason, in our research, we've generated different scenarios for GenAI. We haven't narrowed it down just to one scenario. So the three scenarios, very briefly, are Navigator, where GenAI supports the existing business. It helps the existing processes become more efficient and effective and so on, but it doesn't radically change the structure of the industry. The second scenario is Pilot. This is a more radical scenario where GenAI can replace many of the existing functions, but because of regulation, telecoms operators aren't able to go beyond connectivity. And then the third scenario, Explorer, is more radical still. There's no limits on what telecoms operators can do, so they're not limited to connectivity, but GenAI is very powerful and moves them into different sectors. So there's a blurring between other technology services and telecoms. So for example, connectivity could be part of an Amazon Prime bundle. I think there's lots of questions, lots of uncertainty, lots of hype around GenAI. If there was one thing that I think telecoms operators are doing, is just to start projects working with GenAI. The quicker they get to play with these tools, the quicker they'll learn. So I think just to start grappling with it straight away.